Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Hurricane HQ. And today I'll be going over the potential for this pretty large coastal storm, which should be impacting much of the Northeast, New England, and even portions of the Southeast and the Mid-Atlantic. So we could be seeing impacts all the way from Florida all the way up to Maine and Canada from this storm as we go into tonight and early tomorrow. And in this video, I'll be going over all of the potential impacts from this storm and what areas could be seeing some of the heaviest snowfall. And yes, I did say snowfall. Now, currently we're taking a look at our future precipitation on the NAM model and our hazards that I put on here. So you can see we have the potential for some severe weather here in the southeast, and this will be the first thing I get to in this video. So we do have the potential for some severe thunderstorms ranging from South Carolina to North Carolina and mostly the coastal areas there. We have the potential for some damaging winds all the way from northern North Carolina all the way up to Maine and Canada from this storm. And we also have the potential for some coastal flooding anywhere from, I'd say, Rhode Island down to Virginia. We have the chance for some of that coastal flooding. And then we also have the chance for some heavy snowfall and even some ice accumulations in portions of Pennsylvania and the more western portions of the eastern United States. So first, we'll be taking a look at our severe weather potential from this storm. Now, we do have a marginal risk for severe thunderstorms, which does extend all the way from southern Florida here. So this is for southeast Florida. You are in a marginal risk here for some isolated severe thunderstorms. And then we also have the extension of this into South Carolina and North Carolina here. So we have a marginal risk in not only Florida, but also the coastal portions of the Carolinas here, as there is potential for some isolated severe thunderstorms, as I mentioned just moments ago. And yeah, there is potential for maybe an isolated severe thunderstorm with damaging winds and a possible isolated tornado. Now, let's take a look at our tornado outlook here. You can see we have a 2% risk for some isolated tornadoes in this area here. So only a 2% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of any given point. But keep in mind, make it 50 miles and you got a 4%. And that just goes up. So there is definitely potential for a tornado. But it's really not that likely to see anything damaging or any tornado outbreaks or anything. This is just saying that we have the potential for seeing some rotating thunderstorms. We have a lot of wind shear, we have instability, we have all those ingredients coming together, which could mean we could be seeing some spinning thunderstorms and maybe some tornadoes. Now let's take a look at our thunderstorm wind outlook here. You can see we have the potential for some damaging winds all the way from Florida down here. We have the potential for some damaging winds, along with in the eastern Carolinas here. We have a 5% chance for some damaging winds, and this is thunderstorm damaging winds. This is not associated with wind gusts caused by this low pressure system and this coastal storm. This is within thunderstorms. There is potential for some damaging winds, although quite isolated and quite low. And finally, we have a thunderstorm hail outlook here, and we do have a very slim chance for some hail, 5% here in southeastern Florida, although there is little to no chance of any hail in the Carolinas here. So it looks like the main risk for some hail over 1 inch in diameter is going to be in southeast Florida, although the chance is quite low, only at 5%. And I feel like we might only be seeing some smaller size hail below a 1/2 inch in diameter. So now let's move on to the main impacts from this storm, the non-severe weather impacts, and this is going to be our future radar and future precipitation on the NAM model here, and what this model is showing that we could be seeing in some of these areas. So first of all, we have the chance for some severe storms in the Carolinas. As you can see, a lot of heavy rain, and those isolated thunderstorms do move through there, and then we have potential for that. And then once this restarts, you could see that we also have the potential for some heavy snow in portions of Pennsylvania, New York State, and western New England. You have that chance for some of that heavy snowfall, possibly some heavy accumulations as well. And then we also have the potential for some minor to moderate ice accumulations in portions of West Virginia, Pennsylvania, especially southern. So there is potential for not only heavy snowfall, but also some ice accumulations and sleet accumulations. And then the final risk from this storm is winds and rain. That wind and rain risk is going to be quite limited to the eastern portions here of the East Coast. Mostly this area I'm circling here is where that main rain and wind risk is. The wind risk is quite limited to the coast. We're not going to be seeing damaging winds like in central Pennsylvania. It's quite limited to the coast, except in New England, where it might spread a little bit more inlands. But in the Mid-Atlantic and southern Northeast, it's going to be quite limited to the coast here. So not expecting widespread gusty winds across several states, at least in the Mid-Atlantic. So now as we take a look at our snowfall accumulations, you can see very heavy snowfall accumulations possible in portions of Pennsylvania, New York State, of course. You have the potential for over a foot, actually, in some of these areas in central New York State here. Again, that's just what the NAM model is showing. I know some models showed less. But yeah, I'd say it varies anywhere from like 8 to 15 inches is probably what we're going to be seeing. Again, there's not 100% certainty. There's really never a lot of certainty, especially with these types of late season winter storms. But yeah, we do have the potential for some heavy snowfall anywhere from Pennsylvania up to New York State, with some of those isolated areas seeing possibly a foot plus of snow. Of course, these little white areas have the potential for seeing those higher amounts. So. And those can vary on location. This is just where the NAM is putting those, but we could be seeing those anywhere really within that pink region. There is a chance for isolated higher amounts, and there usually always is. And we have potential for that heavy snowfall to not only be in Pennsylvania, but also portions of West Virginia. The higher elevations have the chance for seeing some of that snowfall as well. So, although the snow is mostly limited to those higher elevations, we could even be seeing some in even more west, like Ohio, too. You could be seeing some decent snow accumulations there. And yeah, but the main threat is going to be in Pennsylvania and New York State, and maybe even portions of southern Canada will be being impacted by some of this heavy snowfall there. Now, as we take a look at our freezing rain total accumulations here, you can see we have the potential for some pretty decent accumulations here. Some of them only show like 1/10 of an inch, while some of them much higher, like 0.08 inch. So that's pretty significant there. Of course, that'd be isolated if it even is that high. I'm not expecting ice accumulations that high from this, but it is what the NAM is putting it at. So maybe at those higher elevations or whatever, there is chance for some of those higher ice accumulations. Although again, I'm not very certain on the 0.80 of an ice accumulations in some of these areas. I'd say maybe a light coating of ice at most. I wouldn't say up to an inch. Now let's take a look at our total precipitation here. Now this is not only including rain but also snowfall. This is how much water is going to be like. Just say the snow was rain. That's what it's basically showing here. So I would say only pay attention to these eastern areas, like over here. This is really where that rainfall is going to be, and you can see rainfall accumulations maybe even over an inch across much of the Mid-Atlantic and even portions of southern New England. And even in New Jersey over here, 1.44 inch, and even over here in the Chesapeake Bay, there's also potential for some heavier totals, along with Virginia and North Carolina here. So heavy rainfall is definitely another concern. Flash flooding and heavy rainfall is a concern. There is a pretty low risk for some flash flooding according to the Weather Prediction Center, as there is only a marginal risk for some flash flooding over here. But yeah, it does look like there is a chance for some of that flooding. So I'd say definitely pay attention to the warnings if there are any. And always remember, don't drive through flooded roadways. If you see a flooded roadway, turn around, don't drown, despite how high the water is. Because, one, it only takes a few inches of water to move your car or even lift your car and possibly even sweep it away or whatever. And it's also very dangerous that your car could stall in the water. You don't want to be driving it through high water, so always just turn around, don't drown. Find another way to get wherever you're going is always the good solution there. And now let's take a look at the 10-meter wind gust swath here. This is basically showing the max wind gusts for the entire time period of the storm. So I don't have to do a loop or anything. And we do have the potential for some very gusty winds. The NAM is pointing at gusty winds maybe up to 50 mile per hour across the Jersey Shore, portions of Maryland, Delaware, Long Island up to 60, and you can see that wind at those higher elevations up there is a bit higher. So you can see we have that chance for some more widespread damaging winds up here near portions of New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island there. And then even near the Cape Cod, that's actually where we have the potential for gusts up to 70s, in the 70s up there, those wind gusts. And even the coast of Maine as well has potential for those very gusty winds. So the coast, better be watching out. And there is a storm warning in effect for these areas up here, the Maine coast. There is a storm warning for those very gusty winds up there. So not quite hurricane force wind gusts, or maybe very close to hurricane force, but it looks to be mostly below hurricane force wind gusts there for those offshore waters. So those offshore waters, definitely, there definitely will be high waves in those same areas there, and that could make that coastal flooding threat even higher in the coastal regions here. So gusty winds is our threat, and there is also wind advisories issued for much of those coastal counties, and even high wind warnings, I think, in the Cape Cod, I believe so. I will have to check that. But yeah, there is wind alerts issued for a lot of those areas, and yeah, there is a high wind warning for Cape Cod. And basically all those coastal counties are in those wind advisories. And now as we take a look at those same weather alerts here, this is where we have those high wind warnings here, high wind warning issued here. Also have a wind advisory for this areas over here. And there is also wind advisories for these counties, these coastal counties over here. Although they are hidden under these coastal flood alerts, there are also wind advisories for those areas. And also those storm warnings for these coastal waters over here. And if we take a look at our winter weather alerts here, we have winter storm warnings issued for much of New York State here. And this looks like to be where the highest snow totals are going to be. The National Weather Service is saying slightly lower snow totals, or significantly lower snow totals, for much of Pennsylvania than the NAM model is pointing out. So I'd say definitely go with what the warnings are showing. I'm just using the NAM model for the purpose of this video, but definitely use those alerts, because those alerts are specified for your county and region. So definitely use those alerts, and they do update them as the new forecasts come in. So definitely check those if you're ever wondering what the latest models or forecasters are predicting for snow totals in your area. And now let's take a look at the coastal flood threat here. Now there isn't many maps to show for that, but this one is our wave height and direction on the Euro model. And you can see those waves are actually pretty high, up to 14 feet, maybe up to 15, those isolated areas offshore. And all these waves are actually going to be pushing towards the shore here, especially the Jersey Shore, Delaware, Long Island. That's where the primary threat for coastal flooding will be. And maybe some ice. I know there is a coastal flood advisory for the coastal counties and even more inland. So isolated higher coastal flood potential on those in those coastal areas as well are possible. But it does look like the main risk for that coastal flooding will be basically anywhere from Long Island's down into North Carolina there. That's where that coastal flooding threat will likely play out. And now here's our sustained winds on the NAM model again. This is sustained, not gusts, and this mostly shows the strongest winds offshore here. And you can see those winds are going to be moving in this general direction here towards the Jersey and Long Island shores, and maybe even near Delaware and Maryland as well in other frames. And this is basically the reason why we have a coastal flood threat. Those winds are going to be pushing some of those waters onshore, causing minor storm surge type of flooding there. So it's basically storm surge like during a hurricane, but very minor. That's what we have the potential for with this storm. And here's our current flooding alerts here. I just want to zoom in. You can see we have a huge area of flood advisories issued all the way from like New York City down into the Philadelphia region over here. And also for that Delaware River, there is potential for some water to be pushed up the Delaware River, I assume. So that's why coastal flood advisories are issued for those counties as well. We also have coastal flood warnings issued for Cape May and these two southern Delaware counties here. So we do have that threat for some coastal flooding there. Actually, some enhanced coastal flooding, and then also a coastal flood warning for these areas here, as we have the potential for some coastal flooding there. And yeah, that's going to wrap up this video. I hope everyone found this video informative. If anyone has any further comments, questions, or anything like that, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you have any... I already said that. If you'd like to check out my outlets, my website is thehurricanehq.org. I have a lot of the same maps I use on my videos on that website, so if you want to check out those auto-updating graphics and everything like that, it will be on my website. My Twitter page is at thehurricanehq, and I do post a lot of stuff on there, including stuff that happens in my area, which is in New Jersey. And yeah, I will be affected by the storm, so I may be posting videos of what's happening tonight. And also I'll be posting on updates on the storm and everything like that on my Twitter page, so definitely go check that out. My Instagram's at thehurricanehq. I also post local stuff on there. And my YouTube channel, which you're watching right now, is youtube.com/thehurricanehq. And yeah, thank you for watching, and yeah, have an amazing day.